Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. Hope you're enjoying the new format. Obviously I'm not in front of the camera, it's not ideal, but we're doing it sort of like a podcasty type thing. So it kind of works because I don't have a lot of time to set up a camera and do all that kind of stuff. But that is behind the scenes stuff. Like I say, I hope you're enjoying the new style of videos on all three channels. That's Cheap Shot Entertainment, the movie channel, which is Quick Shot Reviews, and I've never shown my face on the gaming channel, Cheap Shot Entertainment System. But you're clearly here, if you clicked on this video, to find out what I thought of Rebellion 2001, because we're continuing our go through. 20 years ago today, Rebellion came to the Manchester Evening News Arena on the 3rd of November 2001. And yeah, it was a pretty decent show actually, because it was on pay-per-view, so it was on box office, so it wasn't just your normal sort of Raw SmackDown, it was actually a pay-per-view. It wasn't in the sort of timeline, but the stories continued during the show, and yeah, some really, really, really good matches, some not so good matches, but overall a really good show. So what I will say is, thank you for joining us for more retro reviews. Thank you for joining Cheap Shot Entertainment. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I'm your host Luke, and let's get into the main part of the video. And so the first match is a steel cage match, and it is for the Intercontinental Championship, held by Edge, and he is going against his brother Christian, who is the European champion at this time. So it's not a title for title, it is just for the Intercontinental title, and it is in a steel cage straight away. We've got a steel cage match, and it is in the old style steel cage match as well. So the big steel bars and everything else. So really polarizing match. Obviously these two won multiple tag team championships between them, and yeah, they've recently split. Obviously the invasion angle has been a big part of their storyline. Christian going over to the Alliance, turning his back on the WWE. Edge then staying with WWE and, you know, defending the honour of the company that basically helped him become who he is. So after lots of to and fro, backing and forthing, Christian being the heel, trying to get out of the cage and get away from Edge, which is what he's supposed to do. Edge pulls Christian's feet through the bars, manages to climb up and over as Christian is trapped, and lands on his brother, giving him an elbow drop from the cage, which looks rather nasty, and landing on the floor. So, in a nutshell, Edge retains his Intercontinental Championship, and I'm going to give this one 3.5 cheap shots out of 5, because you can't really go wrong with these two, whether it's in a tag team or against each other. The chemistry between these two is always going to be there. We next see a video package of Kurt Angle, the All-American hero, turning his back on the WWE, joining the Alliance, followed by Hugh Morris and Chavo getting exclusive interviews with the Divas, starting with Trish. So the next match is a sort of like a go-between match, but it is a fun little match. It is Scotty 2 Hotty coming off the back of Too Cool versus the Hurricane. Both these guys, lower middle card. They're never going to be in a main event, and certainly not at this time anyway, because you've got Stone Cold, The Rock, Chris Jericho, Triple H, Kurt Angle, and all those people coming for the main event titles. So you're never going to get these two in the main event, and in hindsight, the stature of them was sort of European title at best. So like I say, it's a fun little match. It is a good contest. Lots of sort of bouncing around. Bit of a showcase for the light heavyweights, cruiserweights at the time. And we get a worm for the win. The most devastating move in sports entertainment in 2001. It wasn't the people's elbow, it was the worm. And like I say, this match was entertaining and enjoyable. Scotty 2 Hottie gets the win. I'm going to give this one a middle of the road score, 2.5 cheap shots out of 5. We continue on again with the interviewing from Hugh Morris and Chavo, and they bust in on Lita, and she seems to be really annoyed that they've seen her topless. Well, not topless, saw her in a sports bra, which most of the time she pulls her top off anyway to do the twist of fate thing. So I'm not entirely sure why she was annoyed there, but there you go. Anyway, that's 2001 for you. Another thing from 2001 is DDP. He likes you, and you like him, and now you like you. On to his match with the Big Show. It is a basic squash match, which is very disappointing because, you know, DDP was never really used properly in WWE. We get a choke slam, and it is sadly a really short match. And, this should have been given more time. And sadly, again, I'm going to use that word again because, Chavo and Hugh Morris were given more time to interview the Divas than Big Show, and DDP got to do their match. 1 cheap shot out of 5 for that one. So we move on next to the Knights of the Round Table, dubbed by Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, Deborah, Stone Cold, and Shane McMahon all discussing their tactics for the night. Obviously, Shane pointing out that if Kurt Angle wins the World Heavyweight Championship, all of the gold will be in the camp of the Alliance and all the power will be theirs. Vince McMahon doing something very similar, and Kurt Angle calls them the Knights of the Round Table. Stone Cold gets really annoyed and walks off. Let's move on to the next match, because the Knights of the Round Table are having marriage problems. WCW Tag Team Championship is up for grabs between the Dudley Boys, the champions, and the APA, that's the Acolytes Protection Agency, Farouk and Bradshaw, and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. And this is a triple threat elimination match in which the APA go out first. They're just usually there to make up numbers. Again, very sad because they are former tag team champions, and they are eliminated by the Hardys with a twist of fate. And the Dudleys' music plays after they get eliminated. So then it's left down to the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys. These two have a massive history of tag team battles throughout the years 2000 and 2001. But it would be the 3D for the win for the Dudley Boys, and they retain the WCW Tag Team Championships. This one is a very by the numbers tag team match, still entertaining, but the tag division was going downhill at this point in time in 2001, which is really sad because they reached massive heights at the beginning of 2001, really just put to one side for the Invasion storyline, and that was it. It would pick up again towards the end of the year and going into 2002 as well with the brand split and all that kind of stuff. So the best was yet to come, but I'm only going to give this one 2 cheap shots out of 5, like I say, by the numbers. And it was good, it was entertaining, but again, should have been given a little longer, seeing how there were 3 teams in this one. Hello! It's that time again where we get a William Regal promo, and I've got to say this is probably one of his best because they're in Manchester. He picks on their local football team, which is Manchester United, and says that if they offer them their unbridled attention and support, giving them the honour of being their heroes, they will not end up doing anything productive, but end up in strange ways down the street. And also mentions their hard-earned money, and mentions the dole money for most people, which I thought was really, really funny. Possibly one of my favourite promos from William Regal in 2001, who was on absolute fire both inside and outside the ring. So this one is William Regal versus Tajiri. They have a huge history together, working together and going against each other. So what happens in this match? Not a lot, really. It was, again, very, very short. A stopgap between this and the last match and the next match, which would be the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. A very short match. Again, deserved a lot longer. These two deserve better. And just giving an extra point here for William Regal and his awesome promos, because he's William Regal. And hello. So 2.2, no, not 2.5, just 2 cheap shots out of 5 for this one. Like I say, an extra point. Was going to get 1 because of it being really, really short, but that's not these guys' fault. So very much deserved a 2 cheap shots out of 5. So the next match is part of the double main event. There is a match in between the 2 main events, but this is the first part of the double main event, which is WCW Heavyweight Championship of the World, and it is Chris Jericho, the current champion, beating The Rock, of course, versus Kurt Angle, who is currently the US champion at this point. So these two, no strangers to each other. They have had feuds up and down the WWE at this point. But again, a really good, well-worked match from 2 consummate professionals who know how to tell a story and put on great matches. So the match would end when Jericho would try and pick the ankle and lock Angle into his own ankle lock. Kurt reaches for the rope and reverses. Angle gets the 3 German suplexes in a row and a near fall, and goes straight into an ankle lock of his own. Jericho reverses this into the walls of Jericho, hits a facebuster and a lion salt, but Angle gets the knees up. Jericho counters an Angle slam into a roll-up for the win, and this match was thoroughly entertaining by 2 absolute awesome wrestlers, performers, whatever you want to call them. One is still very active. The other one has now semi-retired, I would imagine. I haven't seen anything of Kurt Angle recently. But yeah, really, really good. Can't say enough. And it shows how much faith WWE had in Chris Jericho in 2001 to have him beat The Rock and beat Kurt Angle month after month. So I'm going to give this one 4 cheap shots out of 5. Absolute great match from start to finish, and a great way to start the double main event, which features the WWF Championship match between Stone Cold and The Rock as well. You get some more shenanigans after the match. Kurt Angle's not a very good loser, so he does attack Jericho and gives him 2 Angle slams for his trouble as he walks away after the match. So we go into the next match now, which is a special referee match featuring Trish Stratus as the special guest referee, and the match is between Mighty Molly and Stacy Keibler, and they are going against Tori Wilson and Lita in a tag team match. Of course, Mighty Molly and Stacy Keibler representing the Alliance, whereas Tori Wilson and Lita are representing the WWF. Again, not a lot to say about this match. It's a stopgap between the 2 main events. Should have been given a lot longer. Obviously, you've got Mighty Molly and Lita doing the bulk of the wrestling here because they are trained professionals. It speaks volumes of what they were achieving in 2001. And of course, Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson were just there because they were eye candy, although they did hold their own in this match, and they were learning the ropes literally and figuratively at the time and doing reasonably well at it. Bearing in mind that Trish was once eye candy as well, and she became multiple time women's champion, and is very much celebrated in the Hall of Fame, of course. So I'm going to give this match 2 cheap shots out of 5. A very standard Divas match for 2001, but it was an actual match working to the strengths of the ladies that were in the match, which made it entertaining as well. So although I don't give these matches sometimes a really good score, doesn't mean the matches aren't still entertaining. I can appreciate the fact that they're still telling a story and still able to do that with the moves that they do, and the tags in and out and stuff like that. That means a lot to me when I'm reviewing a show. On to the main event now. It is the WWF Championship on the line. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. These two have a long history against each other, fighting up and down the country of the USA at WrestleManias, at SummerSlams, at Survivor Series, and at Royal Rumbles. And of course, Earl Hebner is your referee for this match. Now, I would be surprised by this match because Austin was on top from the start. Now, I shouldn't really be surprised by that, but obviously Austin being the heel and very much hated at this point, Rock was just getting beaten up. He was taking a lot of the heat. Hebner at some point does take a nap. He, of course, is the master of the ref bump, and there is a 3-disc box set DVD available on www.shop.com, The Greatest Falls of Earl Hebner. Angle makes the run in, hits The Rock with a chair. Y2J comes down and makes the save, of course, and hits Angle with the chair, but The Rock is still down at this point. When he gets up, he sees Jericho with the chair, asks him why he's hit him with the chair. Jericho's trying to explain that he didn't, he was coming down to save him, and The Rock takes out Jericho. Angle then gets back in and recovers enough to get the distraction for Austin to hit the stunner and gets the win. Of course, no title changes on this card, even though it was a pay-per-view. They were going to leave that for the main shows. And going into Survivor Series 2001, you would certainly see that coming of age of the company. 4.5 cheap shots out of 5 for this one. Absolutely awesome match. And even the run-ins made sense to the storylines, which is always an absolute bonus. So overall, what did I think of Rebellion 2001 on the 3rd of November from the Manchester Evening News Arena? It was pretty good. Even the mediocre matches were still entertaining in terms of how they were put together and what they did to further storylines. And the main events were even better. You've got a strong match to start, you've got a strong match to finish, and it just worked as a pay-per-view. Like I say, it was on Sky Box Office, it was live on TV in the UK at a reasonable time to watch. Who knew? Anyway, that is my retro review of Rebellion 2001. We're moving on to Survivor Series 2001 at the end of November. I hope you really enjoyed this video / podcast of my thoughts on this, the retro reviews section. We're moving on through 2001 into 2002, 20 years later. Anyway, you are the Cheap Shot Nation. Make sure you subscribe and like and share the videos, as well as joining us on social media. That is Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to go and check out the Squared Circle Jobbers, who play wrestling video games and do general manager mode. Very entertaining. And of course the Big Boss Book Club podcast, ranging from everything from wrestling to card games to movies to video games and everything else in between. Really knowledgeable guy, really nice guy, trust him with my life. He is my tag team partner in the Kayfabe wrestling ring of life, and make sure you go and check his podcast out. Anyway, that is me. I'm your host, Luke, and I will see you next time for more retro reviews. Thank you very much. Goodbye.